Hello again and welcome to RedSeven's YouTube channel. I'm Nick Coons and I've got a server tidbit for you. Just a little story that interesting story that I had with a client last week. They are a collection agency, have an office of about 40 people, and they were in the market for a new server. Their old one was fairly old, running out of space, not a good box to keep around. So they're looking for a new server, and they came to me and they asked what we could do as far as price goes, given a set of specs. And their specifications essentially were this. They wanted a quad-core processor. They wanted at least 8 gigs of RAM, so that way they could expand with virtual machines, because they have a couple other older servers that we could virtualize. And they wanted 4 1-terabyte hard drives, 3 of them in a RAID 5 array, 1 standby hot swap or a hot spare, all 4 of them in a hot swap bay, and dual redundant power supplies, and dual gigabit network cards. So went ahead and quoted this out for them and gave them the price quote. They also checked a couple of other sources. They went to Dell and a few other places. They were looking for some new equipment, for some used equipment. They couldn't find anything used in this range, but new equipment they did find with these specs. And essentially what we found out through this whole process was that, now, one of the things that we know about Dell is that they sell a lot of really cheap PCs. You can get a brand new Dell for like $300 or $400, and that even includes a Windows license. So you can definitely get some cheap machines from them. It doesn't seem to be the case on the server side when it comes to the higher spec stuff. I mean, you can get a server from them for less than $1,000, but then of course it's a PC. I mean, it's just if you can get a rack-mounted server for $1,000, but then it's a PC with rack-mounted rails. There's nothing really special about it. There's nothing high available about it. There's nothing fast about it. If you get into the fast high-end servers like what we were just talking about, and high availability, you know, if you got 40 people and your server goes down for an hour or 2 hours, how much did that cost you? It can be pretty expensive, especially when you have an office of 40 people sitting there being paid to not do anything. That money could easily be put into a more reliable server so that you don't go down. So they had chatted with Dell, and they actually did an online chat, and they saved the online log, and they ended up forwarding to me because of how entertaining it was. And essentially what they found was a server with those specs was about $6,000, which is interesting because what I had quoted them was significantly less than that, at about $2,500. And this $2,500 included everything that they wanted with the dual redundant power supplies, and we had high-quality components throughout. We had Western Digital hard drives, Asus motherboard, AMD quad-core Phenom processor, Kingston memory, so it was all good stuff. And it was a nice beefy machine. We actually put it together over the weekend, and it flies. But what's interesting is they sent over the Dell chat log, and they quoted them $6,000, and they said, do you have anything that's closer to like $2,000 or $3,000? They said, we don't have anything in that price range that comes anywhere near your specs. So, and one of the things that Dell does offer that can be hard to match for a smaller local company is the quick on-site replacement of components. I know they talk about you get their $300-400 PC and they'll do on-site warranties and that sort of thing, but that's after you spend 6 hours on the phone with them. Then they'll schedule someone to come out next week and replace your bad hard drive, and then you're on your own. It's nothing like what you get with the server stuff. With the server equipment, you actually get real service. They can have someone out there in 4 hours taking care of any hardware that's failed, and so they've really got some gold service for their high-end server sales. And so that is something that's definitely a benefit when you pay that amount of money. But when you have such a massive price gap, $2,500 to $6,000, between 2 servers that have identical specs and are both of good quality, you have a $3,500 gap that you can use to take advantage of certain things. So for instance, getting a replacement hard drive is simple, because a terabyte hard drive is a terabyte hard drive. Western Digital, you can find those anywhere. It's things that are not so easy to replace, like motherboards, finding the exact same components, especially after a couple of years, because they get discontinued, and you want to find the same one because the motherboard has so many components on it that you're dependent on, can be a real challenge. And if you have to try and find that same one, 2 or 3 years from now, you might be looking for it on eBay, or you might be having to deal with the warranty through the manufacturer, and you just can't be down for that long. So what you can do is, for an extra couple $100, maybe let's say an extra $500, you could actually buy duplicates of all these items, of all the hard-to-find items. So you could have in stock one of these proprietary hot swappable power supplies. You could have in stock an additional motherboard, So you could, I mean, all these things that are hard to find otherwise, you wouldn't want to necessarily have extra hard drives in stock because you can get those when you need them. It's easy enough to run down to Fry's Electronics or, or anywhere else and pick up a replacement 1 terabyte hard drive for your RAID array. It's easy enough to pick up a DVD drive or a network card if it goes out or something like that, or a stick of memory, because these things aren't proprietary. But when it comes to the proprietary components, like this specific motherboard or this specific power supply that works in this case because it's hot swappable, you spend a couple extra $100 and get these components up front. So instead of spending $2,500, you're spending $3,000. You have your IT guy come out, whoever it is, and switch out these components for you if it turns out that you have to replace the motherboard or you have to replace the power supply. Then while the machines have been running, you RMA, you send back the bad stuff to the manufacturer and have them replace it, within a couple of weeks, and you're good to go. So it really is to the benefits of the consumer to go with something that's locally made if there's that much of a price gap, especially if there's that much of a price gap, because you can use a fraction of that extra money and put it toward buying some replacement components just to keep on hand. Of course, then you've also got your local guy who you know and love and works out really well for you, especially if you've been doing business with this person for a while. And this client of ours has been a client of ours for literally 10 years. So them getting this system from us and being dependent on us for the service is kind of a no-brainer for them. They know we're going to be around. We've been around for a long time. So I would really recommend that in a lot of cases. Especially contact us if you've done business with us before, and we've been around for a while, and then we're going to keep being around. We're not going anywhere, and you're looking for a high-end server, and you don't want to go to someone like Dell. It's like, I don't really like Dell, but they do offer some good service on the higher end. Well, the local companies can compete. RedSeven can compete in this arena. So I think that's a good way to go. If you have any questions, you can give us a call, 602-296-1200. We'd be happy to consult with you on a server and compete with some of the major players in this realm, both in terms of service and in quality of components, and definitely in price, because they are not the cheap guys when it comes to this stuff in terms of price. We can definitely compete with them in price in this arena. So again, 602-296-1200. Don't forget to visit red7linux.com. You can email us with your questions. You can also post them on the Facebook page or the YouTube video. Thanks so much for listening.